¿Qué pasa YouTube? 6foot Hacks here. Happy guys, today the team building video for week 6 of Pokemon Full Glory Season 2. Of course, if you guys are excited for this matchup, make sure to tell for support and let me know what you think about our team and our squad and the matchup in general down in the comment section below. This week, we are facing the man that stopped the winning streak of Dan, and that is the coach of the New York Noibats, aka Mewtwo fan Nate. His channel link is going to be down below. Make sure to go check him out. Also P4G, and if you may have missed last week's battle, then that's going to be down in the description as well for you guys to go watch, because while Nate came off of a very huge victory, we came off of a very dominant victory. So we're both looking to take some W's this week in Pokemon Full Glory, and best believe I'm not trying to lose, but you never know what can happen. So with all that out the way, let's take a look at the matchup. Now, if you didn't watch my team building video from last week, I'm trying out like a new little method of how I showed the Pokemon down below, and what I mean by that is the top 6 are essentially the main 6 I expect them to bring, and then from left to right and the section under that is the order that I expect my opponent to bring from his other Pokemon, essentially. So from left to right, I mainly expect them to want to bring the Bulu and the Raichu as opposed to the Hariyama, Mesprit, and the Typhlosion. I don't really see him bringing Typhlosion just because, I mean, we have Aerodactyl, we have Jellicent, we have Victini, and we have Garchomp. So Typhlosion and Mesprit are the two Mons I really don't expect them to bring in this game. Hariyama could maybe come, but honestly Hariyama gets completely mollywopped by Psyshock Victini, so I don't expect them to bring Hariyama. Essentially Hydreigon, Mega Scizor, the Crobat, Piloswine, those 4 I'm like 95% sure he's going to want to bring. Hydreigon is really hard to switch into. Mega Scizor checks my Aerodactyl, and potentially late game SD can be very annoying. Also U-turn can do a lot of damage to Tangrowth. Crobat is just really good in this matchup, honestly, even though, yeah, we have Mega Aerodactyl again, he can bring Mega Scizor, and then because we do have Mega Aerodactyl, the combination of Mega Scizor's Bullet Punch and Max Attack Piloswine's Ice Shard is going to be really detrimental to Mega Aerodactyl. So that's why I mainly expect them to want to bring those 4 Mons. Just Crobat in general, as I mentioned, has a really good matchup because it can be like a fast, bulky spread. I kind of expect like a special Air/Heat Wave set. That would actually be kind of cool. Maybe HP Ice for the Garchomp, just because Brave Bird Crobat can get stopped by Rocky Helmet Rough Skin Garchomp. So I'm expecting more of like a special set. And then from there, the last 2 Mons are really a toss-up between Lickilicky, Blastoise, Bulu, and potentially the Raichu. Honestly, I feel like Raichu has a really bad matchup in this game, so I don't expect them to bring that because we have Raichu, we have 2 ground types in Garchomp and Krookodile, and we have Tangrowth, so highly doubt he's going to bring the Raichu, but I can definitely see him probably trying to fit Bulu over like Blastoise or Lickilicky. Lickilicky was actually something I originally did not even take into consideration, so shouts out to the homie Shuckle King 87 who mainly helped me build for pointing out the huge glaring weakness I had to Lickilicky in the original version of this team. So I can definitely expect them to bring Lickilicky, I feel like, and then like the 6th Mon is either going to be like Blastoise, Bulu, or Raichu. The final 3, honestly, don't think they have good matchups enough to be brought. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and get this started. So, jumping into our first Pokemon, we got this pretty awesome set that was actually suggested to me by the homie Shuckle King 87, because the idea behind this set is that if he doesn't bring Scarfed Hydreigon or Scarfed Bulu, this set literally just beats Hydreigon, Bulu, and Mega Scizor. So essentially, Garchomp deals with his very terrifying Fairy Steel Dragon core, and that is actually a very solid Fairy Steel Dragon core because Hydreigon's a monster, Scizor is absolutely terrifying, and then Bulu, I feel like Bulu's a little bit overhyped, but it can definitely still hit really hard with like a Wood Hammer, and I've seen him run Substitute a lot, so he could definitely run like a sub-offensive Bulu, so that's something you gotta watch out for. But essentially, with this EV spread, Adamant Max Attack Brave Bird from Crobat does not 2-hit KO unless he gets like 2 high damage rolls. So that's the kind of idea behind this. With Rough Skin, we can still chip down Scizor if it tries the Bullet Punch and go for the U-turn. Fire Blast knocks out Scizor after Stealth Rocks or a bit of chip damage. Poison Jab straight Okos Bulu guaranteed unless he's running the Poison Weakening Berry. Stealth Rocks obviously are the most important move in the game, and they're are going to be very important in this matchup, especially to try and get myself into a position where I can revenge kill those 3 Mons with this Garchomp. And then if he doesn't bring Scarf Hydreigon, Dragon Claw's minimum damage I think is like 90% to like 104 or 7, something along those lines. So after rocks, it's a definite KO. And if he does bring Scarf Hydreigon, that's actually going to be kind of good for me, because then at that point, if he puts himself at like -2 special attack, or if he's locked into Dark Pulse or Flamethrower or Fire Blast, then I can just make an according switch in to that Pokemon that he locked himself into again. So let's say he tries to Draco my Garchomp. If he is Scarf, so he's at -2, that gives me a free switch into my Steel types, or potentially my Victini or like Krookodile or something if I bring them. So yeah, really hoping that this set puts in a lot of work. This also is guaranteed to outspeed Specs Typhlosion, which again, I really don't think he's going to bring Typhlosion. Like, I feel like Typhlosion really has a bad matchup in this game, but if he wants to bring that, then hey, that's going to be pretty awesome. Either way though, this Garchomp is kind of like a bulky tank set, more on the speedy side obviously, but it's just a guarantee outspeeding his base 100 or lower Pokemon, and then going from there hopefully. So alright, so another little interruption, but moving on to the first of our two main wall-breaking and late-game Pokemon, we have Corbin the Cabalion rocking a pretty awesome Choice Scarf set. This is the second time I brought Scarf Cabalion. Hopefully in this matchup, I actually get to use it, because I didn't get to use it in the original first game I brought it in, so hoping that this thing puts in a lot of work. This Cabalion is EV to basically outspeed any and every Scarfer he could potentially bring, except for plus speed natured Scarf Raikou and Scarf Crobat, both of which I think if he does want to bring Raikou, it's either going to be Assault Vested or like Subcom Mind, I would assume. I think Raikou just in general has a bad matchup, but if it's Scarfed, then that can make it a lot easier for me to play around with. And then if he brings Crobat, I expect it to be a bulky offensive set with like Roost or Defog, like Dual Stab, Air Slash, Heat Wave, maybe something along those lines. And if that's Scarf, then it's going to be a lot easier for me to play around as well. But the combination of Iron Head and Close Combat pretty much hits the entire New York Noibats draft for neutral or super effective damage, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, everything basically takes neutral from Cabalion's Dual Stabs, and then we got Volt Switch, so I can pivot out of his only real switch-ins to this set, which are going to be Defensive Mesprit and Defensive Blastoise. So if I see one of those two, then I can make the prediction, Volt Switch out from them, and then either bring in one of my other offensive threats to deal with it, or maybe try and get up a hazard or something, or just pick it off with something else. And then Stone Edge I really felt was the best last coverage move on this Cabalion set, because it allows me to safely it allows me to safely 2 KO Crobat unless he's like a really defensive EV'd, max HP EV'd Crobat, which I don't think. I really feel like he's going to want to bring a more offensive set, because he's never really brought defensive Crobat in general. So Stone Edge is going to be really nice to potentially OHKO it after rocks, depending on how much bulk, or just to KO it on the switch in potentially. So that's going to be a huge plus. So either way, Cabalion definitely can put in a lot of work this game, late game. If not, then it can hopefully wall break for the second member of this offensive core, which is going to be Fightium Z Victini. Now, this was originally going to be Energy Ball Psyshock, I think, as opposed to Thunder Focus Blast, but as I mentioned, Licky was something I didn't originally consider, so thanks to Shuckle King, I decided to change up the set and make it into Thunder Focus Blast. Thunder still should 2 KO Blastoise on the switch-in, unless he's like Max Spadef, Max HP, which if he is Max Spadef, Max HP, that means Cabalion has an easier time knocking it out, so that's going to be a huge plus. Blue Flare is very spammable against his entire team, minus the potential Typhlosion, which I guess could have Flash Fire if he wants to bring it. Hariyama as well. Actually, Hariyama does completely wall this set, but really don't expect him to bring Hariyama. Plus, I can weaken Hariyama enough to revenge kill it. And then Hydreigon obviously can switch in, but if it's not Scarfed, I outspeed it, and then I mollywop him with the Focus Blast. So that's kind of the idea behind this set. The cool thing about this is that if I'm able to pop a Chople Berry on Licky, or if he's not like Max Spadef, Max HP Licky, all-out pummeling just straight OHKOs Licky. If not, then switching into a Blue Flare or Focus Blast into an all-out pummeling should still knock out Licky. The only problem is if he's got Protect, because if he's Protect Wish, which normally Licky are, then he can Protect on my Z move and force me to waste it, and that's kind of worst case scenario. So I am still just a little bit worried about Licky, but with the combination of Cabalion and Victini and one more fighting move that we do have on this team, I really feel like we can overpower Licky accordingly. But Victini basically just wins this game late game. Like, if Cabalion is able to come in and weaken his entire team, I can just Flame Charge on the Scizor, or if I need to pick off Bulu or Piloswine, or I guess like a weakened Mesprit, that'd be really good, because a +1 speed, this should in theory outspeed any Scarfer he wants to bring, again, except for Scarf Raichu or Scarf Crobat. And then once everything is worn down to about 65-70-ish%, Victini just basically knocks everything out. The only thing that would potentially stop that is a Spadef bulky Blastoise, which again, I can weaken it enough with the rest of my team to put it in range of where Thunder can knock it out. So obviously we are playing with fire here, because we do have 270 accuracy moves, which are boosted up to 77% accuracy. So that's not that much better, but as long as we don't get too unlucky, I definitely think Victini is going to be able to clean up late game. If not, then Victini can break his team enough to where Cabalion can just come in and then clean up late game with its appropriate stab moves. So moving on down the line, we got Tangrowth, aka Thomas here. This is probably the best switch-in I have for an offensive Piloswine, because Little Mamo actually does a whole lot of damage with Adamant Icicle Crash to a switching in Tangrowth, and that's actually absurd to me. So the idea behind this set is to switch it in on an initial Icicle Crash, or as he goes for Stealth Rocks, and then he hasn't typically run a lot of speed EVs on his Piloswines before, so with 44 speed EVs, we should have enough speed creep to outspeed Piloswine, and then I can either knock him out with the Giga Drain, or I can put him to sleep with the Sleep Powder. The Spadef EVs just allow me to take Hidden Power Ices from Raichu and Ice Beams from Blastoise just a little bit easier. This is also kind of a pseudo one-time switch into Bulu, because Scarf Bulu doesn't 2 KO. I don't think Bandit Bulu 2 KOs either unless he's got Mega Horn, but if he's got Mega Horn, then I can make a play from there. But Sludge Bomb, of course, is obviously for the type of Bulu. It straight OHKOs Bulu. If he is not at +2 and goes for a Z move, he can't OHKO my Tangrowth. This was actually originally going to be a Tangaberry Tangrowth for Buggium Z Swords Dance Adamant Bulu, because we lived a Savage Spin out at +2, and then we OHKO'd with Sludge Bomb. But I really felt like I needed a much better answer to Piloswine, because I literally have no safe switch in the Piloswine, believe it or not, which is kind of crazy. But I think it's also kind of funny at the same time, because it's the same issue as last week, where I don't have a switch in the Mamoswine, but Chase didn't end up bringing it, so maybe Nate won't bring it, but Piloswine really has a good matchup in this game, so definitely expect that. Obviously, Hidden Power Fire is just for the Scizor. We can 2 KO it depending on if he's bulky or just offensive, and then Giga Drain is just there for stab. Obviously, this set can literally do nothing to Crobat. I almost kind of expect him to bring Safety Goggles Crobat, but if I'm able to knock him off potentially with one of my other Mons, then that's going to be really good for us. So I was kind of expecting, not expecting, but considering to have Leech Seed over Sleep Powder, but just being able to guarantee a 100, almost 100% sleep on something and just about nullifying it for 2 turns to be able to make me use those to my advantage is just way too good to pass up, because Leech Seed would be nice for recovery, but again, just shutting down one Pokemon for 2 turns, or 1 to 2 turns depending on if I get really unlucky, is just way too good for me to pass up. So really hoping Tangrowth can put in a lot of work in this battle. Moving on to probably the most fire set on this team, we got Remy the Raichu making his return here. And I know you guys see the Seismic Toss. There is logic behind that. I promise you, there is logic behind the Seismic Toss. So, actually, hold on. This was changed. Yeah, this, I don't want static. I don't want static, because I don't want to risk him bringing the Raikou, and just the thought of him bringing Raikou and me not having Lightning Rod on Raichu is actually really scary, because if he is Aura Sphere Raikou with HP Ice, he beats both of my ground types, and that could be very scary to then allow him to just freely spam Thunderbolts or Volt Switches. Could be even worse for me, so I would much rather have Lightning Rod. Yeah, this was like a last minute change I decided to make. But anyways, Seismic Toss is only mainly for Sub-Calm Mind Raikou. Like, Sub-CM Raikou, in theory, seems really, really scary, especially because Shuckle King pointed it out to it and it was emphasizing it. So I just wanted to make sure I have a good answer to not Seismic but Sub-Calm Mind Raikou, which is going to be Seismic Toss because we always 100% break the substitute, and if I'm able to get off enough damage, I'm going to put him in range of where I can then revenge kill him with my Cabalion. So that's going to be really good. Nuzzle is literally only here to spread paralysis. We can paralyze Scizor, Hydreigon, Crobat, Mesprit, Hariyama, Bulu. Even if I'm going to sack off Raichu to Bulu, I can just nuzzle it and paralyze it. Volt Switch is, of course, mainly for momentum. Now, yes, this doesn't do entirely too much damage to the Blastoise or to the Scizor, but Scizor, again, like I said, I can paralyze. Blastoise still takes like 40-ish% if I'm not mistaken, and then with that 40%, he's in range of where Thunder from my Victini can knock him out, so that's pretty awesome. And then the last move is going to be Focus Blast, which originally was actually Grass Knot, but Grass Knot doesn't do much more damage than what Seismic Toss is already doing to Piloswine, so by having Focus Blast, I'm able to have a move that can also hit non-scarfed Hydreigon, so it's going to be really, really awesome, and it still does like 40-50-ish% to the Piloswine depending on his EV spread. So I'm really hoping that this Raichu puts in a lot of work, man. You guys have no idea how excited I am to use this hit. With the EV spread, Raikou always 3 KOs instead of 2 KOs potentially, and then we can chew bullet punches pretty easily from the Scizor as well, even if he is at +2. Unless he gets up to +6, I shouldn't be in too bad of a scenario. So moving on down to our final team member, which you guys may know by this point, is going to be Tranquilo, aka the Krookodile. Now, yes, I know we are rocking both the Krookodile and the Garchomp, but they both actually match up really, really good in this game if you really think about it. So obviously Intimidate is going to be really nice to just intimidate the Scizor, intimidate the Yama, a potential Bulu as well, Hydreigon, even if for some reason he has like superpower or something along those lines. But this is really the only answer I have to take Draco Meteors. I did have Klefki on this team originally, but just Klefki really wasn't doing too much outside of maybe switching in and then potentially trying to get up a light screen to then get up a layer of spikes, which, I mean, he can easily rapid spin them away with Blastoise, and he can easily defog them away with the Crobat. So that really wasn't going to work out. But Assault Vest Krookodile can safely switch in to Scarf Hydreigon's Draco. I think Scarf Draco only does like 55, no, like, yeah, like 45-55%, something along those lines. Superpower after Stealth Rocks is the straight Oko on non-bulky Hydreigon, but I'm pretty sure he's either going to bring Scarfed or Z-Move. Those are the two main sets of Hydreigons I expect them to want to bring. Earthquake was originally going to be Sludge Bomb because I wanted to be able to Sludge Bomb kill Bulu with Krookodile. That would have been awesome if I would have been able to keep Sludge Bomb on here. But unfortunately, against Sub-CM Raikou, just really, really damn annoying. Also, Earthquake is just really nice to spam against this team if I'm able to get rid of the Crobat Hydreigon, and really doubt he brings Mesprit, but I can knock off Mesprit in general. This set is a little bit hard-walled by Crobat at the same time. Like, I would like to have maybe Stone Edge or Rock Tomb or something on the set, but I really need all 4 of these moves. Superpower still does like 60-70% to max Spadef, max HP Licky Licky, which is really nice, and Superpower also does about 45-ish, 50% to the Piloswine. Actually, if he switches in Piloswine on my Krookodile, knockoff into Superpower actually has a really, really good chance to knock out only max HP Piloswine, so that's another huge plus. Fire Fang is always a 2 KO on the Mega Scizor unless he's running like max defense, max HP with Rain Dance or something along that, but I really don't think he's going to bring that. If he brings Scizor, I expect it to be like a bulky defog set, like a bulky pivot set, or just a late game sweeping Swords Dance set. So yeah, the Spadef EVs and HP EVs obviously here to switch into Dracos a little bit easier and just choose special hits in general from anything that he may want to bring. The Speed EVs are enough to outspeed Adamant Bulu. I really don't think he's going to want to bring Jolly Bulu. I feel like Adamant is needed just for the extra power. Also, Raichu has enough speed to outspeed everything base 100 and below, so that's pretty awesome. And yeah, guys, that is going to be the introduction to this week's squad. Let me know what you think about the team. Leave a comment down below. Make sure to hammer that like button down below as well if you did enjoy this team building video. And with that being said, I will see you all tomorrow. So Later, everybody.
Cause my brain and heart are both tied in a knot, and this hinders me from crying a lot. This causing me to show no emotion. But when I said I cared, I wasn't joking. But I guess it's too late for me to become broken. For now, I'm living with no more pain, tears of hoping. I'm just coasting. Yeah, I said I'm coasting. No more pain, tears, and hoping. For real.